Yeah. So that's a good look for trial. Optics matter. We talk about it all the time, and the jury is going to be paying attention to everything. Trust me on that. They notice everything. Let me bring in our law enforcement expert guest. He's a retired lieutenant. He's also a canine expert, Mike Gould, on the program this morning. Good morning, Lieutenant. So we're getting ready for these all-important opening statements, and the judge is doing the preliminary instructions. So we're going to dip away from that and go in a second when the opens kick off. Tell us, please, what you're going to be really listening for from both the prosecution when they get to open up, and then the defense, who's got this theory that a mystery man might have been involved in the death of Mindy Casotis.
Right. Good morning, Julie. So obviously evidence to support all these theories. So right now, for the little I know about this case, the defense is throwing a lot of mud at the wall, conspiracies. And again, we always talk about how difficult conspiracies are to disprove. So they're going to have some evidence who this the CIA and this guy. The defendant was a JAG officer, but he has a shady past, right? He was on the run. So I'm going to be looking for, the evidence and see what the prosecutor has. Right now, from the little we know, I don't know any direct evidence. I don't even know circumstantial evidence at this point. So that's what I'm going to be looking for, is the connection between this Jim McIntyre and they were on the run from him, and so I saw something about the CIA. So I think it's going to be one of these cases, kind of like the Karen Reed murder, where the defense is going to throw everything at and hopefully establish some reasonable doubt.
I really appreciate it, Lieutenant. Thank you. And I'm being told, this is interesting, that the defense is doing their open first. I just want to confirm that I heard that correctly, because this is unusual. And the state has deferred giving its open. What? Okay, wait, have to just back the truck up here for a second. And Lieutenant, help me out here, because a lot of times you'll hear about the defense deferring open, right? Because they want to see what kind of evidence the state, you've been an expert witness, you're a qualified expert witness in state and federal court. You're used to trial work. You've done it for years and years when you were in uniform, and now rarely, do we ever see the state defer? I am gobsmacked here. I think this is a very, very bad move, especially because it's their burden. And if they're not going to get up and tell the story first, Lieutenant, what's your reaction, please?
Yeah, so it's a curveball, and my reaction is something obviously isn't right. And again, this whole case so far, I haven't seen the real evidence, or not the evidence, but the allegations, the motives, and all these things other than these conspiracy things. So, yeah, this is highly unusual, but I think that, maybe they, again, not overcharged, I wouldn't say that, but maybe they've gone and they don't have the evidence to support their case, and they want to hear what the defense has to say. It's highly unusual.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. I'm reading our notes from our director of courtroom coverage, who's in the courtroom. And so they're being typed right now. And it says state defers and elects to go second. So with this information, still, you don't go second. Either way, it's bad. Not going at all or going second when it's your burden. And you charged this guy and brought him to trial. I'm appalled, Lieutenant. Lieutenant Mike Gould, I'm so glad you're on the show to navigate this case with me. This is already crazy to me as we're kicking off this one in Georgia. Stand by, my friend, kindly, please. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, we're going to watch the defense open. And that's the defendant right there. I was saying earlier, look like one of the lawyers, doesn't he? That's the look you want when you're going to trial. We'll be right back. Welcome back to CourtTV Live. I'm Julie Grant. We have a brand new trial just kicking off in Georgia, and we already have a twist. This is the dismembered wife murder trial. The defendant, Nicholas Casotis, is facing multiple charges, including malice murder in connection to the death and dismemberment of his wife, Mindy. The incident happening in 2022. Her remains discovered a month later. Police say they were found in 2 different locations 3 miles apart. This defendant is a former JAG in the U.S. Navy, so he's a lawyer. We were saying he looks like a lawyer, and he actually is one. And he's proclaimed his innocence. This is being defended on innocence grounds and with a theory, as we understand it, that some other person did this crime. So now the state of Georgia has chosen to do something very strange here. I would never, ever advise this. And I teach trial advocacy. It's my wheelhouse. They've decided to let the defense go first and deliver their opening statement first. And they're going to speak to the jury second. So let's go in now and hear from Mr. Casotis' legal team.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I introduced myself yesterday, but just so, again, y'all know who I am. My name is Doug Weinstein, and I am representing Mr. Casotis in this case. It is my honor to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, my client, Nick Casotis, is not just an accomplished attorney and decorated JAG officer who served his country in Iraq and in the Pentagon. He is also a man who lived in fear. Relentless, all-consuming fear. His wife, Mindy, also lived in fear. Mr. Casotis is accused of the unthinkable, the absolutely unthinkable, murdering his wife. But the truth, what really happened, is far more complex. Mr. and Mrs. Casotis were told that they were targets. You'll hear testimony that a man calling himself Jim McIntyre, who knows if that is his real name, claiming to be with the FBI, told them that their lives were in danger, that they had to disappear, follow orders without question, and trust no one. Not their family, not their friends, not their loved ones. Every move they made, every lie that they both told, every strange decision, and there were quite a few that you will hear about in testimony, were driven by that fear. Mr. Casotis lied to his friends. He lied to his family. He lied to Mindy's loved ones. He lied for years. Not because he wanted to deceive them, but because he believed that their lives depended on it. You're not going to hear testimony that Mr. Casotis killed Mindy. You will hear testimony that he tried to protect her, but he was manipulated, controlled, terrified. And that fear, real and overwhelming, shaped everything that he did for years. Who's Nicholas Casotis? Mr. Casotis grew up in New Hampshire, in rural New Hampshire, in an area where there were quite a bit of hunting down a road. He graduated college from Boston University. He has 2 law degrees. He has a JD degree, which is the basic law degree, like I have, a JD degree from Northeastern University up in Boston, and he has an LLM from Georgetown. In Georgetown, he specialized in national security law and in cybersecurity. You'll hear that Mr. Casotis is a decorated military veteran, as I've already alluded to. He served in the JAG Corps for a decade. He served in Iraq. He was in the Pentagon. When he separated from service, he left as a lieutenant commander. He achieved numerous commendations within the Navy. He got the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal, the Joint Service Commendation Medal. And during Nick's time in the Navy, in the JAG Corps, he would sit at this very table that the prosecutors are at now. because during his time, at least in Italy, he was a prosecutor. You will hear testimony, I expect. I don't know everyone that the state is going to put forward, but you're going to hear testimony, I imagine, from Mr. Casotis' first wife, Heather. They were divorced in 2015 when Mr. Casotis learned that Heather was being unfaithful. He marries his second wife, Mindy Casotis, the woman that was tragically murdered and that you're here to hear evidence upon, in the fall of 2016. Shortly thereafter, Mr. Casotis separates from the Navy. He serves for a brief time as a civilian in the Navy, but then he leaves that. And why does he leave that? He leaves because, frankly, a lot of very strange and unusual things began to happen, and you will hear testimony on that. And he eventually contacts authorities, and a man calling himself Jim McIntyre appears. Now, Jim McIntyre claims to be with the FBI, and Jim McIntyre tells Mr. Casotis, tells Mindy, that they're in danger. They're in danger, their life is in danger, and they have to go essentially on the run. You'll also hear that following Mr. Casotis' divorce from his first wife, Heather, she gets a $1.5 million judgment as part of the divorce against Mr. Casotis. In the course of providing that award, Mr. Casotis was under the belief that he was the recipient of a sizable sum of money. But you will hear he never gets that money. That money was illusory. That money was allegedly being held by Jim McIntyre for Mr. Casotis. So he believed he was getting that money. He never got that money. I imagine that the state is going to tell you that Mr. Casotis and Mrs. Casotis, Mindy, moving around the country is because of this $1.5 million judgment. But the reality is, it was because of fear. So there's a lot going on with Jim McIntyre. There are a host of lies that are told by my client over the next few years while they are on the run. As I said, you're going to hear about the lies that they told to their friends. You're going to hear about the lies that they told to their family, and specifically that Mr. Casotis told. But this isn't a case about that. I would like you to focus on the tragic murder of Mindy Casotis. You're going to see horrific, awful images of Mindy Casotis' body. Unfortunately, I imagine that they are going to stay with you long after this trial is over. You're going to see her torso. You're going to see her legs. You're going to see her head. And it will be difficult for you to see that. I'm sorry that any of us have to see that. You're going to see a Milwaukee knife that was found near the scene of her body. What aren't you going to hear? You're not going to hear evidence that that knife was used on Mindy Casotis. You're not going to hear evidence from the state's own toolmark expert that that knife was used on Mindy Casotis. You're going to hear about a tub that was found near her body that was likely used to transport Mindy Casotis. You're not going to hear evidence of Mr. Casotis' DNA on that tub. You're not going to hear evidence of Mr. Casotis' blood on that tub. Just like in the knife, you're not going to hear evidence tying Mr. Casotis to that specific knife. Now, you will hear evidence that Mr. Casotis purchased the same brand and style of knife at Home Depot. But you will not see evidence again that ties Mr. Casotis to that specific knife found at the scene. You're also going to hear evidence of a knife set that Mr. Casotis purchased at Bass Pro Shops around the time of Mindy's death. But again, the state's own toolmark expert is not going to be able to tell you that those knives were used on Ms. Casotis. There's a lot that the state will not be able to show you. The state will not even be able to tell you how Mindy died. They do not know how Mrs. Casotis died. She was murdered, but how is unknown. You're not going to hear evidence telling you where Mindy was killed. They don't know where Mrs. Casotis was killed, and you won't hear evidence about that. At the time of Mindy Casotis' murder, Mr. and Mrs. Casotis were living in Savannah. You'll hear evidence about the state's searching of the Airbnb that they were renting in Savannah. You'll hear evidence of her blood being found on the futon at that residence, along with another individual's blood. You won't hear evidence about whose blood that second individual's is. The state's case is going to be very circumstantial, which is why they will tell you it takes 2 weeks to put it on. You're going to hear evidence that my client's vehicle was at the scene because they track the GPS in the vehicle. And when I say the scene where her body was found. But you're not going to hear any eyewitnesses placing my client at the scene. They're just not going to see any of that. So while you're going to hear witness after witness after witness testify about the lies that my client told when he was on the run from the individual or individuals that were trying to harm him and his wife. You'll hear lots of that. You're not going to hear a lot of evidence tying my client to this murder. So what I ask you to do is focus on what's really at issue here as you watch this evidence. Focus on what evidence does the state have that ties Mr. Casotis to the death of Mrs. Casotis. They're going to want to distract you. They're going to want to get into all these other lies. They're going to want to get into his third wife. He marries another woman shortly after Mindy's death. A woman that he had been inappropriately flirting with during the last months of Mindy's life. And after Mindy's tragic death, he goes to Pennsylvania and he marries her. But none of those are issues that are the primary issue. So I would just like you to listen to all of the state's evidence, hear what their witnesses said, look at their exhibits, and see if, once you review all of that, the state is going to meet their burden. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your attention this morning.
Wow. We got a lot of thoughts here. Let's bring in our law enforcement analyst guest to help me unpack what we just saw from defense counsel, who, by the way, had a great delivery. I have to just compliment him on the way he stood there, was very polite, connected with the jury, and very polished, and it told quite a story as well. Lieutenant Gould, it sounds like we got a boogeyman here, a boogeyman named Jim McIntyre. What do you think? Does this story ring true to you?
No, none of it rings true. I mean, he was a JAG officer in the Navy. If all of these suspicious activities took place, I mean, they very well may, but the defense has to show some. They just can't make up theories without supporting it. However, we know the prosecutor, in my opinion, they should have came out swinging like we like to see and let them lay out the case, lay out the facts and what they're going to prove. Beyond a reasonable doubt. So the defense is doing what they should. They're throwing conspiracies and suspicious activity. Of course, the $1.5 million is a motive, but in and of itself is not a crime. So they have to come up with something. So what's unusual to me here is the prosecution's not coming out, as I said, swinging, laying out their case, telling them what they're going to prove, and let the defense lay out their case. So it's I'm a little bit baffled by it at the moment, Julie.
Definitely, Lieutenant. I'm with you. So this defense team comes out with a story that, to me, sounds something like an episode of Scandal. Did you ever watch Scandal? Great show. Used to be one of my favorites when it was on. This is kind of what it sounds like to me. Like you've got this mystery man, the boogeyman, Jim McIntyre, and he says he's with the FBI, and he's telling the defendant and the victim that they're in danger, and they have to go on the run, and he's controlling the movements and holding the money. Why is he holding the money for the first wife? That makes no sense. It was so dramatic and so wild, but you know what? People love a good story. People do, and the fact that he got to tell it first, you're right, Lieutenant, this is going to be tough now for the prosecution because they're going to be waiting for, okay, wait, but what about the Jim McIntyre character? I heard it first. That was the first thing in my ears when I sat down in that jury box. So even though it doesn't ring one bit true to me either, somebody's going to get hung up on it, I think. Lieutenant Gould, stand by kindly, please. So now the state of Georgia has chosen to give their opening statement second. Let's see what they do next. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. So we're in a brand new trial in Georgia, the dismembered wife murder trial. The defendant's a guy named Nicholas Casotis, definitely a smart guy, went to law school, even has an LLM, and he's being accused of malice murder. He's being accused of murdering his wife, Mindy, and dismembering her body. The alleged incident happened in 2022. Her body was found in 2 different locations, 3 miles apart. There's a picture of Mindy Casotis there, the victim, the person this case is about. And this case has already started off a little weird because we had the state decide to defer giving their opening statement and allow the defense to go first. Bad move. Bad move, because the jury hears the defense story first, and they've told a story about a boogeyman, so to speak, a guy named Jim McIntyre who was controlling this couple, forcing them to go on the run, making them live in fear, holding money for them. So the defense developed this suspicious character. Now it's the state's turn. If I'm the state, I don't even care if it's opening statements. I would start with an argument. I would say that sounded like something out of the TV show Scandal. Now, that's fiction. Let me get you in the facts. That's what I would do if I were the prosecutor on this one, and I would get them into the facts of the case, but refute what the defense just said. So let's watch for that. Let's see what they do. Here's their turn.
December 2nd, 2022. It was the week right after Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving that year was on Thursday, the 23rd of November. That weekend for South Georgians is a big hunting weekend. It's deer season. You're going to hear That weekend, Portal Hunting Club, which is located in Riceboro, Georgia, Liberty County, right near McIntosh Line, down off I-95, Jones Road, that turns into Barrington Ferry, but it's right over there. And you're gonna hear that there were hunters out. It's a family weekend. They were all out for deer season. You're gonna also hear that Portal Hunting Club is a dog club. That means is that when they hunt, they use dogs to do the hunt. And the dogs run out into the woods and the deer run, and then the hunters shoot. And you're gonna hear that one of those hunters shot a deer. And the dogs that he was using went to retrieve the buck. The dogs just weren't acting right. When he said come back, the dogs weren't acting right. So he went to look to figure out what was going on. He did not expect what he found. He found a headless, legless torso, nude, completely nude, with 2 arms. One almost severed. Her 2 legs severed. Her head severed. Just off the roadway. And as you can imagine, you will hear him testify. They were shocked, horrified. And I submit to you that the evidence that you will hear is that they returned to the clubhouse to try and get the police, to call somebody to come out. And you're going to hear testimony that that's when the onslaught of law enforcement kicks into high gear. They respond, and they get there by about 5 o'clock, 4:50 p.m. And you're going to hear what the hunting club area looked like. Portal Hunting Club and the area surrounding it, the adjacent territories, there's over 30,000 acres of logging territory. And they hunt on that territory with permission. That looked like a great place to drop a body if you're not from South Georgia, because that's a busy weekend. Logging, hunters, dogs. If you don't know they're there, I submit to you, you're going to hear that that wasn't a great place to leave a body, because they found it quick. Wasn't far off the road, and they found it quick. You're going to hear and see some of the information that law enforcement collected, where the torso was recovered. And you'll see those roadways. They're not asphalt. They're not like regular roadways of the highway, but they're still roadways. And the logging trucks use those. And there are cars that come through, and local citizens will cut through there when the season is going on because the locks are off the gates. And you're going to hear that people were coming and going. Lots of people. And over the next couple of days, you're going to hear what they found. But that very first day, on December 2nd of 2022, the crime scene investigator shows up, and they start documenting the crime scene. And I'm going to submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, counsel's right. I agree about one thing. There are tons of horrible pictures, and I submit to you that we will do our very best to limit what we show you. The state has a burden to prove our case beyond a reasonable doubt, and dismemberment, unfortunately, is what we were dealt. And we have to prove that. So we will present photographs to prove that. But the torso wasn't all that was found on that first day of December 2nd of 2022. Crime scene's going to talk about what they recovered there. And that investigator recovered not just the torso, but the tubs that were used to transport it.
Okay, very different opening statement style. The defense attorney's story was much more fluid. This is a little bit choppy and a little bit longer to get to the point, and there was no refuting what the defense said right out of the gate. I would have done it right off the bat. We'll see if she gets there. We got to hit a break. When we come back, we're going back into the state's opening statement. We'll hit that pause button. Thank you for watching Court TV Live. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. Let's go back into the courtroom in Georgia. We're watching the state's opening statement in the dismembered wife murder trial.
And I submit to you, you're going to hear testimony about the blood that was found inside of those tubs, that they tested it on the scene, that they knew it was first blood and then that it was human blood next, because they can test for that. And they're going to tell you also about the knife. Counsel talked to you a lot about what wasn't shown. But I submit to you, you all assured us, and I'm going to ask you to use your common sense as much as possible. You're going to hear about that knife. A Milwaukee, orange-handled, black-sheathed knife. And that knife, ladies and gentlemen, had a cleansing wipe wrapped around it. Call it what you will, Clorox wipes, things you use to clean up. Those wipes were everywhere. There were lots of them that were recovered. Because the killer didn't want to leave behind evidence. I submit to you that killer was a prosecutor. I submit to you that the evidence is going to show that he would have known to clean up. And I submit to you that there's more evidence. That knife was purchased, I submit, the evidence will show, by Nicholas James Casotis. If you look at that picture, the state will introduce it, you can see that knife tucked under his arm. That's him on surveillance from Home Depot. And I submit to you that in case you were unsure that that was him, that's the receipt. Showing, if you look closely, that's his name, Nicholas James Casotis. So I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, there's no question that the evidence will show that Nicholas James Casotis purchased that knife. And if you look at that, he bought it at 8:56 a.m. on the morning that you will ultimately hear was the day her body was dumped. The same day, hours after. And you will hear evidence of exactly how we know that. You'll see the tubs. They will be here in this courtroom. You will hear about the DNA analyst testing the substances inside of those tubs and that it was Mindy's blood in those tubs. They didn't know who she was then. They just knew there was an unidentified torso. Those tubs also get bought at Home Depot. And you're going to hear how detectives from the Liberty County Sheriff's Office and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation ran down every lead they could. And in the beginning of this case, you're going to hear that there wasn't a lot to work with. You're going to hear
this is frustrating to watch because, in my opinion, this prosecutor is really missing the mark. This isn't so much about Mindy's dismemberment and where her body parts were sadly found. That's all awful. The story is more about who did this to Mindy, who wanted to do that terrible harm to her. And we haven't gotten there yet. I mean, this prosecutor's like 10 minutes in and still hasn't gotten to it. I mean, you could very easily get up and she could have started it by saying, you heard defense counsel talking about a boogeyman. Well, I'll tell you, the boogeyman's right here. And you point to that defendant. And then you say, this case is about a woman named Mindy, her marriage to this boogeyman and her murder. And then you just tell the story. You don't say, I submit to you, I will show you, someone will testify. It's frustrating. This is where I love trial advocacy. I teach it and it frustrates me when I see it not being done in an effective way. Let's bring in our law enforcement analyst guest. He's also a qualified expert witness both in federal court and state court, Lieutenant Mike Gould. Lieutenant, when you're watching this, what are you thinking? What's the picture this lawyer is painting for you about what happened to Mindy and how it happened?
Yeah, Julie, I kind of share your feelings about it. I think she's not doing a great job at getting to the point. I like to get to the point in a compelling way, you know, and not to get too gruesome, but this knife, if what I'm visualizing, when you, not to get gruesome again, but to decapitate a body, cut it in half, cut bones off, you need a serrated object, like something like a saw. Hunters have knives, so it's a hunting club, and I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying that's not so unusual. And cleaning, if he was so smart, to clean up the evidence, but he left the knife behind. So I think there's so much smoke here, and the prosecutor's got to get to where their facts are, this case, and just not finding a knife. There's nothing really compelling to me that I've heard yet at all.
That's the word. You hit the nail on the head, Lieutenant. Compelling. What is compelling about this? We don't know who did this murder because she's not telling us. I mean, you're right. She's talking about tubs and body parts. And for a jury, as you said, this is upsetting. You said it's very gruesome. You know, the jury, I think anybody would look at it and not want to see those photos and the graphic images, but they want to know what happened. They give me some evidence of what happened, how we got to the point of dismemberment. Lieutenant Mike Gould, owner of Houndstown, USA, thank you so much for weighing in on this trial for us. We'll see you soon. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, we're going to see more from the prosecution in Georgia in the dismembered wife murder trial.